Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing the Panerai Luminor Submersible 1953 Days Automatic PAM01305, the highly evolved relative of the famed 2009 PAM305 1950 submersible. So what's the latest evolution bring to the table? Well, remember, you can see and you can purchase it on our website, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and of course click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Panerai Luminor Submersible 1950. Now the watch on my wrist is physically almost the same as the prior 305. Refer to my video on that watch, but the bare dimensions of this one across the case, 47 millimeters, not including the crown guard at 3 o'clock, and lug to lug, a substantial 56.5 millimeters. Will accommodate a 16 centimeter wrist, maybe a 15, but in my opinion, if you get any smaller than that, you really want to look at something like the PAM682, the new 42 millimeter Luminor Submersible. That would be ideal for a sub 15 centimeter wrist, but you're going to wear this one well if your wrist is my size or close. Now, also note, 16 millimeters thick, it's not a watch to wear under any kind of dress cuff, a tight sleeve, anything that could get hung up on a huge wrist clock, rest assured, should not be paired with this watch. All that said, because of its cushion profile, which is about as tall as it is wide and entirely in titanium, it doesn't create any hot spots or pressure points on the wrist, and eyes closed, it feels more like a 41-42 millimeter watch in total mass. That's the miracle of a titanium case. And of course, the Luminor shape wears well on a smaller wrist. I'm going to try to give you a wrist profile, that is to say, a straight-on shot of the watch actually on my wrist at 16 centimeters. You can see I'm right at the threshold of lug overlap, which is my personal aesthetic red line for the watch is too big. Now you can also note the watch has a wonderfully supple and versatile diving strap on it. You can see it has a bellows system as well as a sort of lengthwise hollow on both sides, allowing air pockets to build under the strap to vent the wrist, sweat, grit, moisture, oils on hot days. The flexibility inherent in the bellows system is an absolute pleasure, and you'll note if you are using it for sporting purposes while the wrist expands or contracts in hot, cold activity or inactivity, a large trapezoidal style titanium pin buckle. Now the titanium case is hypoallergenic, so if you have any nickel allergies, this is a great option for you without having to go ceramic or carbon fiber. Now you'll note that the lugs do feature the Panerai quick release system. You activate the trigger on the underside and then you push through horizontally to remove the bars that retain the strap, and then you can fit it to anything from leather to a textile strap to a full custom strap. Strap changing is part of the Panerai subculture, so if you're Paneristi or aspiring Paneristi, this is a great candidate to get you started with many aftermarket and factory options available. Now you'll note the case is the 1950 profile. It's a little bit more complex than the classical tuna can or Betterini case that debuted in 1993 and was the only choice until the original 1950 of 2002. That was the PAM01305. Now you can get that same case profile in many different sizes and watch configurations, but you can see here it adds an extra element of elegance to a diving watch that otherwise might be monolithic, massive, and a bit too imposing. It might be a little bit not indiscreet, because it's already that, but lacking in grace. With the 1950 case, there is no shortage. You'll also note that entirely in satin finish, it wears its weight well. High polish would have been gaudy. Satin, to reduce glare, is both more attractive and it helps the watch's cause as a tool watch. Being a matte dial with a matte case, you're unlikely to see glare if you only have a single moment to steal a furtive glance while you're using this watch in the heat of anything from fishing to actual diving. Now you can see the dive bezel dominates the aesthetic of the watch, and as with any ISO 6425 compliant true dive watch, you do have that unidirectional action to align with the minute hand, and this probably has the most mechanical feeling bezel of any watch I've ever experienced. It almost feels like I'm using some sort of Craftsman, or even better, Snap-on Tools ratchet. Absolutely a pleasure. You hear it, you feel it, and it's almost exaggerated in its action. I like it, and it fits the image of the watch. Now line it up with the index and you can time an interval between 0 and 60 minutes. I actually find this more useful than a conventional chronograph. It's easier to read, there's no higher service costs down the line. It's simply a matter of reattaching the bezel after your watch is refinished. So I like to make this my chronograph effectively, and then get all the versatility of a diver rather than go with a chronograph and have to fetch something separate for my sports watch when I want to get wet and wild. You'll also note that the watch has applied indices. The sandwich dials are handsome, but they are not the most legible. The fact remains that the applied index, sometimes called applied, sometimes in its earlier iterations a printed or sausage style dial, those are the most legible Panerai dial variants. As evocative as the sandwich is, this is what you want when you've absolutely got to read it at a single glance. You'll note the small flourish of color at 9 o'clock in the small subseconds, and of course we still have the time zone function that allows you to drive the hour hand independently forward or backwards without actually stopping the movement. Notice how you can also drive the date forward or backwards without hazard to the movement while crossing the international date line, and if you pull the crown to extremity, you do hack the seconds hand. Now you can still set the watch, but note that you've stopped the seconds hand so you can synchronize to the second against an accurate timer such as an atomic clock or dive clock. Turn it over. Of course, you've still got the signature lever-locked device protecting the crown. Now it's open and I can wind. Now it's closed and I have 300 meters water resistance, a design icon, and still highly functional. It also gives you more protection from all aspects than a standard shouldered crown guard. Here we have one of the hallmarks of the 1305 that sets it apart from the older 305. This is the caliber 9010 compared to the older 9000 caliber. The old 9000 caliber was thicker than this. It was less extensively jeweled, 28 versus 31, and the older caliber also didn't have the full dual-anchored balance bridge. Though it was free-sprung, it had a single-sided cantilevered balance cock that didn't give the balance quite as much support and protection from shock. Here that's remedied. 3-day power reserve, skeletonized winding rotor. It winds bidirectionally, so it doesn't have the unidirectional rotor wobble you might have remembered from older 7750 based Panerai calibers. Designed and executed in-house, and you get to see it. And you can see and you can buy this PAM 1305 on our website.